Sheet Set Organizer is launched from the installation of the FDOT Civil 3D State Kit. If we expand the folder for all the applications, we'll find Sheet Set Organizer in the list. You launch Sheet Set Organizer external to Civil 3D, and Civil 3D must be shut down prior to launching Sheet Set Organizer. I'll double click and the application opens. So I'm going to clean things up a little bit, make it easier to see. What we find are there are several panes on this dialog box. They can be resized like a normal Windows application, and we can expand and move the panes around. And this is convenient when we're looking at lots of data later on once we load up our project. It's appropriate to mention that Sheet Set Organizer is a companion application to the built-in Autodesk Sheet Set Manager. What Sheet Set Organizer does is it opens up all the Sheet Set Manager files it finds in your project. If you're familiar with AutoCAD, you know that Sheet Set Manager files are essentially little databases that index drawing layout tabs that you'll find in your drawing. So I'll go ahead and open up a project, and let's go open this one. And what Sheet Set Organizer is doing, it's starting up Civil 3D, opening that project directory structure, and scanning that project directory structure for any Sheet Set Manager files that it finds. Sheet Set Manager files have a .dst extension. Well, first notice here that we see that it actually found two Sheet Set Manager files. Here one was called lighting plans.dst, and then it found a second DST file. We also see that it opened up an XML file that it went and placed into project in order for it to store what are called foreign sheets. What a foreign sheet is are sheets that aren't part of a DST file. I'm going to move this back over. If we select one of these DST files by highlighting it, what we're going to see is that this particular DST contains the roadway plans component of our plan set. So in this pane, this is a component pane, which actually shows either roadway plans, signing and pavement marking plans, or the various plans component as defined by the FDOT Plans Preparation Manual. We select the other DST. Now I have both selected, and we see we have both the roadway plans and the lighting plans. We see all the plan sheets that are part of that component. I'll go ahead and also turn on the lighting plans so we can see both. Now both of these are selected, and we should have at this point the complete plan set showing up as represented in the DST file. And down here in the sheet list pane that we see all kinds of information that are properties of the sheet, such as the sheet's number, sheet title, description, what component that particular sheet belongs to, whether that sheet can be plotted or not, and then some other information that's going to appear on the sheets. If we select and highlight one of these components, we should just see just the contents of that particular component, or if we select them both, we should see both of those appear in the sheet list pane. So let's start by working with the roadway plans. Okay, we have our roadway plan set loaded, and we can see we have the roadway DST file, and we also have that component selected here. Below in our sheet list we see all the fields that are in the DST file represented down here in the grid. This grid is very busy because it contains many fields, and we can clean this up a little bit to make it easier to see the information we're after. There's two ways to do that. One way is to come right here and select this button with a left mouse click, and what it's going to show you is all the different fields that are currently being displayed in the grid. And we can turn off the fields that we no longer wish to see. So if I no longer wish to see the project description, I can click that off. If I want the road number turned off, or the county turned off, or the FPID number turned off, I can just deselect these. I can select them or deselect them as a group. Another way to get to the different fields that are going to be displayed is to come up here into Settings and select User Settings, and we can also display the extraneous fields that we wish to see here. You see I have some of these turned off. I'm going to turn off a couple others. So for right now, let's go ahead and turn off the project description here and just select Apply. And as we turn those off, these columns that have the titles fall out of the display. So as I examine my data, I can see I have the actual sheet number displayed over here in the first column, and if I scroll down a little bit, we'll see all the sheet numbers represented, sorted in numeric order. If I had sheet numbers with alpha prefixes, they would also show up in here. These particular columns can be sorted in either ascending or descending order by just clicking on the title. I'll go sort this column, and the column will sort in the alpha or alphanumeric order. So to get these back in sheet order, I'll select over here and they show it back in sheet order. We can see that the sheet name's being displayed, a sheet description if one's available. There's one written here just called sheet description. I'm going to take this out because this has no meaning, so I'm just editing that out of the field. We see the actual layout name, and that's the AutoCAD layout name that we would find if we were to open up the AutoCAD drawing. We see the plans component that this sheet belongs to. We can change the plans component that any sheet belongs to by selecting the pull down, and these are part of roadway plans, so I'm not going to make that change. We can also change the FPID number, and I see I have some mistaken FPID numbers, so I'm going to go ahead and make that correction real quickly. And I'll fix this one up as well. You see how I am able to edit data just by editing the different data fields in this grid. The county, and you can see that the counties can be selected from a pick list. I'm not going to change the county because these are all in Broward County. And then we have the state road number, which also has some mistakes, so I'm going to click in here and clean these up. I don't have any more right now. Now, none of the edits have yet been applied to the drawings. They're just being made in this grid. In order to save the edits to the drawings, what I have to do is I have to click the Save button. And what it's going to do, it's going to fire up Civil 3D, go into this DST file, make the changes in that DST file, and the way AutoCAD and Sheet Set Manager are hooked together is if a change gets made to a DST field, the change will also be made to the drawing. So let's go ahead and save my changes. And Civil 3D is being cranked up. The changes will be applied to the DST that I'm currently editing, and control will be returned back to the Sheet Set Organizer application. And now we see that the changes are complete. I select OK, and I'm completed with that particular editing operation. At this point, we've seen how we can make edits to individual fields just by clicking into different cells within this data grid that we see down here that represents the sheet list. We can make additional edits by selecting a row and right-clicking on our mouse, and we see right at the top menu we have an option to edit sheets. So what we can do is we can edit the whole selected sheet, and what it's going to do, it's going to bring up the various fields into a dialog box. So with one single dialog, we can edit the description, the financial project ID, county, state road, structural project name if this is a structural sheet, and various other information. The other thing we can do is you can see that these sheets, some of these fields are actually custom properties that are part of the DST file, and we can go into the various other custom properties and add some additional information. Custom properties are created in the Sheet Set Manager application as part of AutoCAD, but we can reach those fields with this application and do some editing here as well. I'm going to go ahead and select Cancel, and as we saw that we can edit a single row, we could multi-select rows. So if I were to select these numbers of rows, right-click, Edit Sheets, and since I can select more than one sheet, if I say Edit Selected Sheets, if I make changes to the sheets, and you notice that the dialog has changed a little bit into a multiple sheet edit dialog, I could make more broad changes quicker. So let's say I wanted to change the FPID to something different. So if I wanted to make it 11111 and hit apply, you see that I made edits to all those sheets with a single operation. So I'm going to go ahead and set that back. Let me select those rows again. I'm just selecting the first row, like with the normal Windows application, holding the Shift button down, mouse clicking to select the multiple rows. I'll select Edit Sheets, get that dialog back again, edit the FPID, and let me go ahead and put the proper FPID in. Select Apply, and those are set back to their original state. I also have a way to edit particular cells within a sheet. If I right-click selected cells, and I have just some very simple little edits here, this probably isn't any more convenient than going directly into the cell. I need to select the sheet first, and then select the cells. I won't make that edit, but you get the idea of how that works. Select a sheet or a bunch of sheets, hit select sheet cells, and I can edit one cell at a time. Okay, let me go ahead and put these sheets back in order by clicking the column header, and as we can see, we have these particular sheets that are part of our roadway plan set. So the next operation I'd like to do is show you how to reorder sheets in case the sheets are out of order. If we go to a particular row and select it and right click, we have an option to reorder sheets. We can move the sheet ordering up in the sheet ordering list, we can move it down in the sheet ordering list, we can cut a group of sheets out and then paste them back in some other location in the sheet order. So let's start with a real simple operation. Let's move sheet 10 above sheet 5. So if I go here to sheet 10, right click, reorder sheets, and say move up, now sheet 10 is going to appear in the sheet ordering above sheet number 5. Even if I click the sheet number title here, 10 is staying above sheet number 5 because I've reordered it in my sheet order list. I haven't renumbered it, I've reordered. I can correct that operation, reorder sheets, and I'll move 5 back above sheet number 10, and now we can see that 5 appears in the list above sheet number 10. The next thing I'd like to show is how to add a foreign sheet. A foreign sheet is a sheet that isn't actually part of any DST file directly, or I should say a sheet that isn't part of a drawing layout. I have a foreign sheet that is a separate PDF that I would like to add to my sheet set, and the way I do that is go decide where I'm going to put it. So let's say I wanted to introduce a sheet number 6 here, and if I right click, I should be able to go and select add foreign sheet. So let's right click, add foreign sheet, and it's presented me where I'm going to navigate to go find that sheet. So I'm going to browse out to my project and go select that sheet, and I happen to have that somewhere right here in the sim folder. I'll select it, select open. I have to give it a sheet number, so let's give it a sheet number 6, and this happens to be a county map. It's not really a legitimate example, but we'll make it work. And now we can see that that sheet has been added to our sheet set organizer. And notice it's not a drawing layout, so this field is always going to be blank. Again, I could have changed its component, FPID, and the various other fields here. You see I have a mistake, so let's go ahead and correct that while we're here. Go up here to foreign sheets, select edit sheets, and maybe this is how we're going to get to it. There we go. So let's take that SR out. And that fixed it up for me. As you just saw, I had to go visit this tab, Foreign Sheets, and the reason why this is here, of course, it gives us an editing pane where we can batch edit these foreign sheets, one, or if we had multiple ones in here. But the other thing it gives us, and I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel here, it gives us the ability to import a whole lot of sheets at once. So if I had maybe a whole bridge plan set that was a bunch of individual files, I could import them in one shot and then go back to foreign sheets with this edit foreign sheets button. All those different files would have been imported, and then I can do the cleanup, like fixing up their component name or their county or reordering them in the proper sheet order. Of course I could do that here, but I get a special dialog for foreign sheets to be able to do a kind of a multi-edit on a lot of foreign sheets all at once. The next thing I want to do is just show a couple other items that are in the menu. If I right click, you saw the option to mark a sheet as obsolete. The idea here is sometimes we have a sheet that we no longer want to include in our plan set, but we don't want to lose reference to it. So let's say, for example, sheet 16, I did not want that sheet to go away necessarily, or that layout to disappear, but I wanted it where it would not plot or would not appear in any kind of indexes I might produce from this application. And if you just mark the sheet as obsolete, what it does is it blanks that sheet out, and that sheet's no longer going to be plotted or indexed any longer. But the other information about the sheet is retained. The next thing we'll do is take a look at the next option. We have revisions. So revisions are numbered typically 1 through N, and if we want to create a revision, we can hit create new, and we can set the revision number, the day of the revision, and who the revision is by. So let's say, for example, the sheet 10 was going to be revised. It's going to be part of revision 1. It's going to be revised by Bruce. Put my initials in there, and I can give a description of why the revision is going to occur. That description is what appears in the little field in the title block, so I can say, something small, hit apply, and now that sheet is part of the revision. So from this point on, if I had another revision, so I'll do this sheet, notice that it's trying to add this sheet to the current revision as I'm making changes. But if I had other revisions out there, I could select which revision number that sheet belonged to. So I won't do that at the moment. Cancel. So now we've seen how to add foreign sheets. We've seen how to renumber sheets, reorder sheets, mark sheets obsolete, create revisions. We can also do plotting. So if I go select, let's say, sheet number 17, I want to plot it. select plot sheets. It says that I've made all these changes and haven't done a save, so I'm going to hit yes and do a save first. Civil 3D's cranked up and running. Now the changes are saved back to Civil 3D. I can select OK. Now that I've got all my changes saved that I've made, let's try plotting that sheet again. Notice I could select multiple sheets to plot. So again, Civil 3D is being fired up and the plot engine is being cranked up. So it should take that sheet and go ahead and create a plot file for it. There we see the layout appearing and the plot should be executing. And now that sheet is plotted. So let's go look at the results. Here I've navigated to my project with Windows Explorer in the roadway folder, and what it does is from the drawing it goes under the Eng data subfolder and it creates the plot file. So you'll see that according to the CAD manual, the roadway plans component, any plots of sheets you create would have the 01 prefix on it, the sheet number, and then the source drawing name from which that sheet came. And if I double click on that, I should get a whatever the helper app is, and in my case bring that over here. We see that particular cross section sheet plotted and I'm in Adobe Acrobat Reader. And if we zoom in on this, get in down on the details a little bit, all that information that we've been messing with in Sheet Set Organizer is going to appear down here in the title blocks. So I've got the sheet title, the sheet number, various other information, the county. I've got it in there too many times, but I can correct that. Who executed the plot, the date, time of the plot, financial project ID number, road number. And this is some of that information that we saw in those custom properties that are part of the DST file that we can go back in and put in. And of course this wasn't the one I did the revision on, so there's no information there. But you can see how you can plot an individual sheet. Of course I could select multiple sheets and do a multi-select down here. Let me close this. Oh, by the way, when you do a plot, you get a plot results window that tells you how many were selected, how many plotted successfully, the number of errors that Autodesk reported when it plotted. You can get this plotted sheets report, which is coming up now, and it tells you what was plotted, where it went, and so forth. We can plot multiple sheets. I'll close this, just do a multi-select. Let's go ahead and plot our key sheet through sheet number 5, let's say, and we'll go ahead and start that plot. All right, the layouts are starting to pop up and they're being plotted as each layout is encountered. When Civil 3D gets done plotting, it's going to pass control back to Sheet Set Organizer application. And we get our plot results. So we had selected 5 sheets, 5 successfully plotted. And again, if we want to look at this plotted sheets report, we can start that up and it tells us which layouts that it plotted and where it put the results. If there's any errors here, we can take a look at that. This particular report has some controls over here. This report could be very long with multiple pages. We can print, we can save this to a PDF if we want. So we have some options up here at the top of the report that we can do with this particular report viewer. I'll go ahead and close this. So at this point we've covered many of the options that appear down here in the sheet list. Again, we get to some of those by selecting a sheet or a group of sheets, right clicking, and then we see the various actions that we can do from the menu that we see here. Let's take a look at some of the things that are up here on the menu bar. We've already taken a look at settings real quick and looked at user settings where we can change the appearance of the sheet list grid down here. So I'm not going to do that. We see over here we have some reports. We can get a sheet report, so let's go ahead and run that real quickly. And this report gives us lots of information about our sheets and what their status is, whether they're plotted, whether they're not plotted, whether they're obsolete, the names of them, the paths of them, the sheet number, you know, just various information about what we would see in this particular grid. We have another report that tells us which ones of the sheets have not yet been plotted. We can select that and it will tell us all the sheets that either have been plotted or have not. We have another kind of report that is an out-of-date plot report, and what this report does is if we have a drawing file that has a more recent date than a plot file that is sitting out there, that is, if the drawing has been updated since the plot file has been produced, if we were to run this report we would see results in here. So if I had gone and done some plotting and then done some additional edits to a particular drawing that changed the appearance of a sheet, we would see something in this dialog to let us know that we need to update our plots. So that's the little report section. We saw how foreign sheets work. We can import foreign sheets a whole batch of them this way. We can also edit foreign sheet one at a time or a batch of them using this particular tool. The next tool up here I'm going to go to is I'm going to go to plot, and I'm just going to plot everything just to show you that we have some additional plotting tools here. From here I can plot all sheets in the entire selected set of DSTs. I can plot all sheets that have not yet been plotted, and this may be something you would want to do in case you had many sheets, hundreds upon hundreds of them. You don't want to replot everything all the time, but you may only want to plot the ones that have not yet been plotted. You can plot sheets that are out of date. We saw previously we had that report that'll tell us which sheets are out of date, and this tool will let us plot just the out of date sheets, or we can plot sheets by selected sheet set. I'm going to go ahead and plot all sheets to make sure I have everything plotted and current. As soon as this is done, we'll return. Okay, that took several minutes, but I've got all my sheets plotted for my whole operation, and it's just finishing up now. 27 sheets plotted successfully. Didn't detect any plotting errors, so I'm going to head and get out of this operation. And if we were to go look in our project, we would see all the plot files were added to the Eng data subfolder where the drawings were that contain those sheets. The next thing I want to show is the Create menu item. And it has a couple of options, and some of these are related back to the old electronic delivery where we used to create a sheet index web page. That option is still here, and it will create that web page for us. We can also create a project index XML file, which is also part of old electronic delivery. It doesn't hurt if you create that even for digital delivery. In fact, it might be a good idea just for quality control purposes just to run these two. And then of course we want to create the PDF of our whole project, and that is still named the old project PDF, so you would want to rename that to FPID-plans and whatever plans component that happened to be. So I'm going to go ahead and create this just to get this report running. It asks if it's part of a strung project. No, and it creates that file. And we should be able to view that. Let's go see if we can. We'll run that index report, and here it is. So this is part of the old electronic delivery, but it's a good idea maybe to create this just so you have quality control, so you can go back and look at how your plans are coming together. Even though this is not required for digital delivery, you can use this as a quality control tool and look at these particular reports. But this report is no longer mandatory for digital delivery, but it's still here in the application. Let's go ahead and create the project index XML. That's created. I don't think there's a viewer for that. Nope, there's not. And we'll go ahead and create the project PDF document. And it says it's successfully created, and we should be able to view that. And here we go, and we should have our plan set. So if we expand this out, we should start seeing our key sheet. Here's our signature sheet and all the various sheets that were part of our plan set.